Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 6th edition of CIêNCIAS Research and Innovation Day. It's a pleasure to have you here today to celebrate the groundbreaking research and innovation developed here at CIêNCIAS. For this morning's session, we have invited a diverse group of funding organizations, industry leaders, researchers, and communicators to help us explore the vital role of funding in advancing scientific endeavors and driving innovation. This session is powered by FCiências.ID, the main partner of CIêNCIAS for fostering research and innovation. So without further ado, let's begin. For the opening words, please welcome our Vice Dean for Research and Innovation, Professor Margarida Santos-Reis.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming for this session. I think João said most of the words that I wanted to say. So, in fact, we are proud to open the 6th edition of the Science, Research and Innovation Day. And unlike the other years where we had a full day devoted to science and presentations for many people from the faculty, this year we decided to innovate. Innovation is also one of our keywords, so we decided to innovate and follow some suggestions, and recognizing that one of the things that we need to foster within our community is the diversification of funds, because most of our research in the past years was funded by national funds, mostly by FCT, which is, as you all know, nowadays reducing and being much more difficult to get these funds, and we need to go and profit other opportunities that come from, especially from the European Union, but also from industry and other sources. So we decided to divide today into sessions in this morning, so it's mostly devoted to internal members, but also to our guests, of course, to show them how we can diversify our funding opportunities. And the selection of people that we invited to become, to give you some words that we will listen, involve funding agencies from the state, involves the company, involves other people that can show you, and including a researcher from our institution that has been shown in the last year how we can get funds from very, very different sources. So thank you everyone for being here. And we will start now first also with some words from FCiências.ID, who, as João said, is our partner in this endeavor of funding our research and innovation activities. So thank you very much of all of us, and I profit this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Margarida. And now, as Professor has mentioned, let's welcome Professor José Manuel Rebordão, the President of the Administration Board of FCiências.ID. Thank you, Professor.
Minha apresentação aqui?
Sim. Professor, nós não temos uma apresentação sua para amanhã. Há uma apresentação para amanhã.
Sim, para agora.
Peço imensa desculpa, nós só temos a da tarde, professor.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I was relying on a small presentation on key facts of FCiências.ID, and apparently it is not available. Now, we are a key institution for the sciences ecosystem. We are a private organization with 7 companies. CIêNCIAS as formerly minority participation. We do most of the interface with funders and researchers. So, but we are binding by the laws of the Republic, in the sense that the labor code and a lot of laws concerning taxes, concerning the working contracts, and concerning the ethics of the research activity have to be followed and have to be strictly complied with. some figures, we move about 15 million euros per year. We have about 600 contracts with people, either internships or researchers. We are currently following and managing about 350 research contracts of all kinds of contracts, national and international, private or public, with a variety of rules and regulations behind them. And we have a very correct relation with Faculty of Sciences, of course. We are independent companies, and our operational procedures are completely independent because our binding laws are completely different. So, of course, we do harmonization of strategical harmonization. It could not be otherwise. But there is no interference in management, although there is some support in some of the operations we have to do together. We follow some high-level rules of transparency, and you can find in the website all the reports, all the regulations, so everyone should know precisely what are our internal rules and why. And all reports are also published in our website. This is a research day, and people is the most important topic of our activity. And for people, we have been designing careers for science and complying with the needs not only of the associate laboratories we have been managing since 21, but also of the generic research centers. And we have basically two careers for science and technology, one mimicking the public career of research, ESIC for Portuguese-speaking people, and also a second career in management of science and technology, addressing market issues, the interface between market and research, addressing very high-level engineering skills to handle top-level infrastructures, either computational or laboratory-based. We have communication of science with the professionals, and we also have technical positions for 2 or 3 levels of people to support research from the most technical point of view. As you all know, those type of positions do not exist in the public system, and in many areas of science, the lack of people supporting experimental activity is one of the fragilities of the Portuguese system for science and technology, and precludes the transfer of knowledge for the innovation activities. So we are trying to fine-tune the type of positions we can offer to people and contract them, taking into account the needs of research centers and of the associated laboratories, and of course they are different from position to position. So just to finalize, almost everything is public in our website, and everyone that wants to cooperate with CIêNCIAS in research most probably will have to go through FCiências for handling the real thing, because money exists, but money must be followed and managed according to a very, very, very strict set of rules, which may put away a lot of people, because it's not easy to manage money in Portugal, especially public money, in which there are a lot of auditing entities looking for us, and we receive constantly auditing from external auditing, looking for all our amounts of money that goes through FCiências. So thank you, and I wish you a very fruitful session in the morning and in the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rebordão, for kickstarting our discussion this morning. Now, to introduce our first presenter, ANI, the National Innovation Agency, is the Portuguese entity that promotes innovation and technological development and facilitates cooperation between research and industry. Our first guest speaker is here to guide us through Horizon Europe's strategic plan, which steers the funding for research and innovation for the next few years, as well as through the Future 10 Framework Program. Please join me in inviting Inês, Head of Global Challenges and Horizon Europe's National Delegate, Sofia Azevedo.
Hello, good morning. First, thank you so much on behalf of our Board of Administrators for the invitation to be here. And before starting, let me do a spoiler. Carla and Mafalda asked me to do a different presentation that normally we do in such an event. One thing I want you to remember at the end of this presentation is that at ANI, we have 20 colleagues now that can help you find funding opportunities to whatever idea you have for your research, and also to have discussions with you to prepare for the future. We are starting a new cycle towards the next framework program, and this was the challenge from Mafalda and Carla. They asked me to try to inform you on what has been done at national level, for one side, what the Commission is doing at the European level, and how we, as a general team, can work better to try to gather more funding from the framework program or from different funding programs that the European Commission has available to fund research. And for example, the structural funds are one of these programs that are implemented at the European level. Focusing specifically in Horizon Europe, Horizon Europe is the biggest funding program for research and innovation. This image probably is not new to you, but I would like you to recall it throughout our presentation, throughout my presentation actually. The framework program is structured in 3 pillars and the horizontal part at the bottom. And if you may ask yourself, where can I find funding opportunities for the Faculty of Sciences? It's everywhere. And actually, you are doing a very nice job in trying to do so. I will show you some data in a moment. What I would like you to do a bit better is to look at the middle pillar. It's the pillar where the clusters, the thematic areas are concentrated, and where the Commission presents challenges for researchers, for the companies, and for the researchers and the companies work together to arrange new ideas and bring innovation to the market. And researchers and the faculties and universities and the public institutions have a pivotal role to guarantee that the knowledge really reaches the market. This graph shows the Portuguese participation throughout the last 4 framework programs, starting in FP6, in 2003 until today. The data for 2024 are still provisional. There are a lot of calls open for proposals. And I would like you to concentrate, let me see if this works. Yes, it works. In the last decade, in the last 10 years, Portugal has been able to consistently increasing the volume of funding that we can secure from Horizon Europe. And if you see here, especially in Horizon Europe, there are 3 years that constantly consistently, we have gathered almost the double that we could reach in Horizon 2020. So all the research and the companies involved in the projects we have to congratulate you for all the projects that you gathered and requested the funding. These are the general numbers. We have reached almost 1,000 million euros in total funding. And from this volume, about a third has been captured by the private sector, both SMEs and large companies. We are involved in more than 150,000 projects, and we coordinate a good set of projects. The figure that I want you to take with you is the percentage, the funding, the success rate for proposals. We have more or less almost 20%, depending on the themes, of success rate in gathering the funding. So this has increased, and this increased because we have more experience in participating in the framework program. Remember the first picture I presented to you. This is the data for the the Faculty of Sciences and FCiências.ID. Okay, I never know how to say it in English, so sorry. So, until the moment, you have 16 million in projects, in 31 projects, and 11 coordinated by both entities. In bold are the areas that you are coordinating projects. What I would love to see next year, if you invite me again, is especially in the big clusters, in the digital industry and space, in food bioeconomy and agriculture, and even in EIC Pathfinder, to increase the number of coordinated projects by the Faculty of Sciences. ERC, Marie Curie are well-known instruments. However, the EIC Pathfinder is an instrument that you can use to fund fundamental research in collaboration with companies or other entities, and it's a collaborative project, and typically the scientists start by presenting proposals focus on basic science, and then further explore the results and the ideas in bigger collaboration projects in the clusters funded by Pillar 2. So what brings the future? 25-27 is around the corner. We are discussing the work programs for 2025. We have a platform that I will show you at the end, the link to it, where we provide these confidential and draft documents. And you know that there is a new European Commission that will take office until the end of the year. The program will be only adopted in March to April 2025, but you can start preparing the projects already now, because the version that we have in our platform is very stable, and we believe until the end of the year the topics will not change, the calls, the content, the text will not change until it is published. What 25-27 brings is, by one side, new key orientations. It will bring new platforms to guarantee technological sovereignty in Europe. It will bring new areas of knowledge. There is a new action plan for advanced materials that was published, and then a new partnership will be implemented, and new call for proposals for the specific area of advanced materials will be deployed and developed throughout 25 and 27. The program also brings new partnerships. You know that the European Commission, in specific strategic areas, signs and implements memorandum of understanding with the private side to guarantee that the technology exploited and the results are available in the market. So there is 9 new partnerships. And finally, a new facility, the new European Bauhaus. You have heard about it, probably. There is a new annex, let's call it, a new set of calls specifically targeting the new European Bauhaus facility with a specific call for proposals. This is the list of the 9 partnerships. Have a look at it. If it's interesting to you, we have specific colleagues following these initiatives. There's a new one for solar photovoltaics, another one for advanced materials, one for textiles, and all of the 3 I have listed are the so-called co-programmed partnership, meaning that there is no need to have funding at the national level to participate. The calls are completely open for participation. The only thing you need to know is the background information for the topics, and be very keen on involve yourselves in activities at European level. And we have colleagues following each and every one of these partnerships to help you prepare for the future. And what about beyond 2027? The new cycle is starting. Typically, the new framework program starts to be discussed in the middle of the current framework program, meaning that for Horizon Europe, we are at the midterm. It will be evaluated, some reports will be published, and the time for you to be involved in the discussions for the future and to guarantee that the areas that you do your research is included in the framework program is now. This is the list of the final documents that were published in the last couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. For one side, the political guidelines for the new commission, the letters for the new commissioners. If you have a look at the letters, you can find the way the new structure of the commission may be working and the areas they will work on. Then 2 very important reports. The political guidelines of the new European Commission, it's called the Draghi report, and much more than a market, the Letter report. And both of these reports give directions and recommendations for what the FP10, and not only the FP10, but the innovation ecosystem at European level should be. And finally, and more important, the report that was published by last week, Align, Act, and Accelerate. This is the report prepared by the high-level group. It was shared by our former Ministry of Science, Manuel. And in this report are included a set of conclusions and recommendations specifically for the framework program and what should be the way ahead to simplify the mechanism, to guarantee that it has the amount of investment needed for all the projects that are being proposed. And what about Portugal? You probably have received, and if not, you can send me a mail and I will share this link with you. The 4 national innovation the 4 agencies that have national contact points and national delegates responsible for Horizon Europe prepared a first draft. And last week, the Ministry of Education, Science and Innovation published the position paper, the Portuguese position paper for FP10. Here you can find the information on the document, but more importantly, it's an open consultation for you to give your feedback. And I would love to see a lot of feedback from the research community and the companies. Please do share this document with the companies that you collaborate and give us some information on what you would like to see continuing in the next framework program and what can be done differently in the framework program. So please be involved in this discussion. It's very important for us and for us to present this information at the European level. Finally, And my last message to you. The framework program is only one piece of a puzzle to fund research and innovation. The European Commission has programs that try to follow all the innovation cycle, and there's funding opportunities to fund everything that you want to implement. There is a lot of money. There are a lot of countries throughout Europe that are using very efficiently this money, and you have, again, a team of at least 20 people at the National Innovation Agency very eager to help you in meetings, in events, for us to guarantee that we can fund more information, more projects. What about information? We have two strengths in the National Innovation Agency in our team. We provide newsletters with a compilation of information that typically is sent once a month for each theme that we accompany in the framework program. And more importantly, we have a support group that it's called GNAD, for the ones that know and are involved. I see a lot of people nodding the heads. Why being involved in this group is important? First, you receive a lot of emails from us, and if you don't want to read them, just put it in the trash. But you have access to the information that is still confidential, but you can, for one side, help us shaping the call for proposals and send us your feedback for these documents. And whenever needed, you can access to the information and to the documents to prepare the proposals. Finally, this is only my email. I couldn't put the 20 in this slide, but behind us, me, Annabelle, and Claudia, there are a team of 20 people that are here to help you. Thank you again for the invitation and for your attention.
Thank you, Sofia. Now, we will look at the current landscape of research funding focused on the environment, nature conservation, and climate action. So here to present European Union's LIFE program, please welcome Inês Cristóvão from APA, the Portuguese Environment Agency.
Bom dia a todos. Muito obrigada pelo convite que foi feito à APA. É um prazer estar aqui e também divulgar, é uma oportunidade para nós divulgar o programa LIFE aqui junto desta comunidade. Eu chamo Inês Cristóvão, faço parte da equipa técnica de apoio ao programa LIFE. Vou-vos falar um pouco sobre este programa e depois, muito resumidamente, sobre um programa de capacitação nacional que está atualmente a decorrer. I'm sorry, my presentation will be in Portuguese. The slides are in English, so I hope it will help a little bit. Portanto, o programa LIFE é um programa já muito antigo, com mais de 30 anos de existência, completamente alinhado com os objetivos do European Green Deal, e é o único que está focado estritamente sobre questões de ambiente, natureza, biodiversidade e ação climática. O grande objetivo do programa LIFE é resolver problemas com que a Europa se depara, e o próprio programa também tem vindo a evoluir em função disso. O LIFE está... Eu vejo mal os slides. Peço desculpa. Eu vejo mal, eu vejo isto muito pequeno. Eu não vejo o que é que estou a ver.
Não faz mal, peço desculpa. O programa LIFE é um programa que tem uma natureza muito própria, é muito prático. É um programa que promove projetos de implementação no terreno, um pouco diferente do programa Horizonte, que é mais realmente dedicado e focado à investigação. No fundo, o que aqui é valorizado são os impactos do projeto, o seu alcance, o seu caráter de replicação, até que ponto é que pode ser utilizado por outros, noutras circunstâncias e noutras geografias. Também realmente aqui uma componente de inovação que também é muito valorizada e por isso é muito comum nos projetos live, nos projetos haver um consórcio onde um dos elementos, por exemplo, faz parte da academia e outro pode ser uma empresa ou uma Câmara Municipal, onde realmente faz acontecer no terreno ideias que possam vir a ser testadas e depois divulgadas. Está completamente... Isto são fatores que valorizam qualquer projeto e são tidos em conta na grelha de avaliação. Portanto, os projetos portugueses concorrem de igual nível aos projetos estrangeiros. É um processo bastante difícil, mas todas estas características que temos aqui são valorizadas e contempladas na grelha de avaliação. Em termos de funcionamento do programa, temos à cabeça a CINEA, que é a agência responsável pela gestão centralizada de todo o programa. A ELMAN, que é um consórcio que acompanha depois os projetos que são aprovados no terreno, acompanha, portanto, junto de cada país e presta a informação necessária. Temos a figura do Life Committee, onde os Estados-membros podem expressar as suas opiniões e, no fundo, serve de assistência também à Comissão. E depois temos os pontos de contacto nacionais, dos quais a AP é um deles, que faz aqui a ponte depois para cada Estado-membro. Em Portugal, nós estamos um pouco divididos os pontos de contacto de acordo também com as responsabilidades de cada organismo. Por exemplo, temos o ICNF para o seu programa da natureza e biodiversidade, enquanto que a APA tem a seu cargo a economia circular, a qualidade de vida e a ação climática. No caso da transição para as energias limpas, que é um novo subprograma dentro do programa, temos a JEG e o LNEC. Estamos em todos os pontos do país, os pontos de contacto também nos Açores e na Madeira. Aqui é só alguns dos grandes números do programa LIFE, para vos dar nota que em 2024 houve um financiamento de 571 milhões de euros. Aqui, mais uma vez, os 4 subprogramas e as suas áreas temáticas e o dinheiro que foi afeto durante este período para cada um dos subprogramas. E também daqui dá-vos nota que isto é um programa que financia diferentes tipos de projetos com diferentes natureza. Os mais comuns são os SAP, os Standard Action Projects, que são da maioria do conhecimento de todos, mas também financia outro tipo de projetos, como os projetos estratégicos, que têm uma dimensão muito maior e, no fundo, servem para implementar políticas pelos Estados-membros, a nível das autoridades que têm responsabilidades nessa matéria. Temos projetos de assistência técnica, outros Other Actions, Coordination and Support Actions. Estes são muito importantes porque são agora novos projetos que estão a funcionar dentro do subprograma 7, da transição para as energias limpas. Têm também uma natureza um pouco diferente do CHAP. E os Operation Grants, que é o financiamento da atividade das ONGs. Isto é mais dirigido para as organizações não governamentais. Em termos de duração de projetos, temos aqui uma grande panóplia de períodos, sendo que os SAP normalmente andam entre os 3 e os 4 anos, mas podem chegar até aos 10 anos. A taxa de cofinanciamento do LIFE é de 60%, no geral, mas, por exemplo, na natureza, pode atingir os 75%. E aqui na energia, porque é uma componente nova no LIFE e que está a ser muito valorizada e priorizada, pode chegar aos 95%. Nós temos tido em Portugal, recentemente, muitos projetos aprovados nesta área, da transição para as energias limpas.
Desculpa. O slide que está a apresentar é este aqui, professora. Eu acho
Pois. Peço desculpa.
que este é o próximo slide.
Pois, peço desculpa então. Sei que eu não estava a ver. Tá. Deixo aqui também um pouco mais os dados. Quem é que pode candidatar-se? Qualquer entidade, pública ou privada. Um cidadão em título individual não poderá fazer. E como é através da plataforma Funding and Tenders, comum a outros programas de financiamento, e lá poderão encontrar também muita informação sobre todo o processo de candidatura. As escolas e o processo de candidatura e de preparação seguem um ciclo muito grande, um ciclo mais do que anual. Normalmente, aqui estamos a ver datas indicativas, os avisos das escolas abrem por volta de abril, depois há um período de preparação de propostas, e o deadline normalmente é em setembro, portanto, onde os candidatos terão de submeter as plataformas as suas propostas até essa data. E depois, só no próximo ano, é que as propostas são avaliadas e podem ser aprovadas ou rejeitadas. Dá-se depois uma fase de preparação do Grant Agreement e só quase um ano depois da proposta ser submetida é que um projeto poderá começar, na data que indicar no Grant Agreement. Aqui só dá aqui nota de alguns documentos de referência que são sempre úteis, os tais programas multianuais, ainda não tão formalmente disponíveis para próximos anos, portanto, para 25, 27. Dar-vos nota que esta lista de tópicos prioritários que aparece talvez seja dos documentos mais importantes, porque é lá que podemos encontrar os temas mais discriminados por cada um daqueles subprogramas e que podem ser alvo de financiamento. Dar-vos também nota, tal como a colega Dani falou há pouco, que prevemos, e porque temos estado nas reuniões do comitê, que o próximo programa multianual não vai ser tão diferente quanto isso. Portanto, os trabalhos podem continuar a decorrer, os temas vão sensivelmente ser os mesmos. A parte da energia está a ser, de uma forma geral, agora mais priorizada. E, é claro, os documentos da COL são sempre também os documentos mais úteis a consultar. Passando aqui um bocadinho para um programa de capacitação nacional que está a decorrer, e que ele próprio é um programa de assistência técnica, que também é financiado pelo programa LIFE. A APA é a coordenadora deste programa e depois tem como parceiros grande parte de outros NCPs portugueses. E aqui a ideia é conseguirmos fomentar mais este programa, termos melhores candidaturas e captar mais dinheiro para Portugal e mais investimento. Sendo um programa de capacitação, a maior parte das ações está direcionada para ações de informação e de formação. Também estão previstos guias de boas práticas e uma plataforma de cofinanciamento. Aqui a plataforma de cofinanciamento vai ser útil porque um dos constrangimentos que era apontado a este programa era realmente a taxa ser baixa, de 60%, e esta plataforma vai tentar fazer aqui um matchmaking entre tanto os coordenadores de projeto, que têm uma ideia de projeto e que precisam de mais financiamento extra além do LIFE. E depois outras medidas relacionadas com a melhoria dos canais de comunicação. Estamos agora a remodelar o website português, já lançámos alguns podcasts e vamos lançar mais, e temos presença no LinkedIn. Aqui só para dar uma ideia, não vos vou amassar com este slide, isto é a estrutura deste projeto de capacitação segundo o Work Package, que é o normal destes projetos, depois tem sempre aqueles Work Packages que são transversais, de monitorização, de reporte, de acompanhamento. Outros mais ligados realmente à comunicação e à definição do próximo projeto, outros centrados no foco, no core, que são as ações de formação, e a tal plataforma de cofinanciamento. Aqui é importante, isto é o plano de ações que temos previsto por ano, já começaram, porque este projeto já começou em abril do ano passado, ainda vão continuar, e não necessariamente sob esta ordem, mas em princípio o ano começa com os Infodays. Portanto, os Infodays são sessões informativas que começam com a abertura das escolas, portanto, lá para abril, a partir da CINEA. Portanto, a Comissão lança estes infodays, onde dá a conhecer as características da escola desse ano, das escolas desse ano. Nós depois, em termos nacionais, fazíamos uma também em português, aqui mais a nível nacional. Estes infodays acontecem sempre, portanto, acontecem todos os anos, independentemente deste projeto de capacitação que está a decorrer. O projeto prevê também, já aconteceram e vai continuar a acontecer, sessões de informação regionais para chegarmos a vários pontos do país, inclusive a Açores e a Madeira. São sessões muito práticas, muito hands-on, com pequena capacidade, são presenciais, para ajudar potenciais interessados no desenho de candidaturas. Temos outros eventos dirigidos aos projetos estratégicos, porque há muito poucos, são muito complexos, demoram muito tempo, envolvem muito dinheiro, é com autoridades públicas e depois acaba por haver poucas a concorrer, e então quisemos aqui dar aqui um maior foco neste tipo de capacitação e também na utilização dos KPIs, dos Key Performance Indicators, que devem ser tidos em conta logo na fase de desenho de uma candidatura e que depois acompanham a candidatura e também merecem aqui uma especial atenção. Lá para o fim, ou seja, mais perto da altura de setembro, da submissão das candidaturas, temos também previstas umas sessões dedicadas, tailor-made, portanto, à medida da pessoa, para que, conjuntamente com esta equipa deste projeto de capacitação, possam tirar dúvidas e que construam propostas mais sólidas, mais robustas e que tenham pés para andar e, se fosse bom, para ganhar. O Interlife Seminários também são seminários anuais, em que aqui o palco é dos projetos, a ideia é pôr os projetos a conversar uns com os outros e tirar boas práticas e experiências. E está previsto ainda durante este mês de novembro, em data a anunciar, um webinar sobre boas práticas de replicação, transferência e policy uptake, porque são áreas que a Comissão valoriza muito e que nem sempre é dada muita importância nos projetos. Como suporte regular, portanto, além destes eventos, temos os Open Desks, que no fundo são balcões abertos, são reuniões que se podem marcar online para esclarecimento de dúvidas, isto numa fase mais inicial, onde poderá haver dúvidas sobre o próprio programa, sobre onde é que uma determinada ideia se pode enquadrar, em que subprograma ou em que call. Temos um mail dedicado, life@apambiente.pt, e uma mailing list que funciona envio só de informação importante, não vai sobrecarregar a caixa de correio de ninguém, e quem quiser fazê-lo poderá pedir inscrição na mailing list através deste e-mail geral, que é o live@apambiente.pt. Termino com os sites principais, portanto, o website do Life Nacional, o website do Life da CINEA e a plataforma Funding and Tenders, com estes URLs que estão aqui. Nestes sites tem toda a informação possível e nós estamos cá para vos apoiar de uma forma mais dedicada também. Muito obrigada.
Som.
Thank you, Inês. Moving on to our next guest speaker, vertical farming offers a sustainable solution to food production that employs innovative space-saving techniques in controlled environments, which can be set up inside urban centers. Raiz, a successful startup that has recently signed a cooperation protocol with CIêNCIAS, is pioneering this urban farming revolution. To tell us more, I now invite Emiliano Gutiérrez, co-founder and CEO of Raiz.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Bom dia. Muito obrigado. Sorry for the speaker, I just like to move a lot, so allowed myself to ask this. Raiz means root, as you will know. So we're aiming to build healthier roots for a better food system, and very happy to share that we're doing it here together with CIêNCIAS as well. We'll discover soon how. So at Raiz, we're building local, climate-positive food ecosystems. Many of us might know that our current food system is hurtful for the environment. There's a lot of waste, tons of plastic wasted all year. There's still, sadly, thousands of people dying every day of hunger, and there's long supply chains that hurt our environment, but also our people, our families, our communities. So we know that there's a future in which our climate resilient food system is also good for our people and our planet, and that's what we're aiming to build. One way to do that, and it's a key or a piece of the puzzle, of course not all the food system, but part of it will be climate resilient urban farms. So we know that vertical farming is a solution. It has still many challenges ahead, but one thing that is key is the energy efficiency inside these urban farms. So if we're to make it happen and grow food locally in a healthy, nutritious, and climate positive way, we need to really take care of our energy efficiency, which is what we're currently focused on. So at Raiz, we've developed these urban farms with lower energy costs. So we're using algorithms, LEDs, and sensors that allow us to adapt the energy intensity of the LEDs according to the sunlight intensity. We're focusing on positive unit economics. So we're running these farms as of now, selling the final produce to communities, restaurants, and families. And then we're enabling communities to deploy their own farms to cater to, again, their communities, restaurants, hotels, etc. And most importantly, we need to do this in a climate resilient way, right? So we know that climate change is no joke, and that droughts exist, especially in areas such as, Portugal, Spain, and the global south. So we need to find ways to make this growing very efficient, both in terms of water, land, resources, and of course also focused on the circular economy angle. So these are our three key pillars: energy efficiency, climate resiliency, and positive economics for all the players. We've heard many times say that vertical farming is dead. Sadly, it's been a reality for the first generation of many urban farms in which high capex, high infrastructure costs, and not a profitable business model has driven them out of business. So we know that we need to do things differently and change the approach we do things instead of having this high energy consumption and non-working model. Vertical farming is dead, and we say, long live vertical farming. So these three key things, which we are further developing with CIêNCIAS and this partnership, are the biotech angle, which we'll dive a bit deeper more, but it's basically how do we leverage technology to enable more nutritious, climate resilient crops, also higher yields, and just leveraging the different technologies that are out there to help us grow more nutritious food in an efficient way. This is like how the farm looks like in the inside. You're all invited eventually to the new farm coming up here. Modular design, so we need to be able to adapt different spaces, right? So cities are built in different manners. There's a lot of abandoned urban spaces, so we want to really transform underused spaces into vibrant vertical farms that feed communities and also create these experiential places for people to go and learn and really get this fresh food from. and the energy angle as mentioned, right? So we need to really focus on making the farms and the controlled environments in a way that really allow us to grow food with a minimum amount of energy expenditure, so that we don't end up using a lot of fossil fuels to grow food, but that we can really leverage the power, for example, of the sun, which is the most abundant energy source. This, of course, linked with lower carbon from shorter supply chains, zero plastic at all, zero pesticides, and of course, 90 to 95% less water consumption than traditional agriculture is what really allows us to make a tangible impact. So where are we now? We have one operational farm that's operated profitably here in Lisbon. It's currently in Alcântara. We've grown a varied crop mix, all the way from vegetables to, of course, microgreens, leafy greens, herbs, etc. And we're aiming to diversify the crop mix. We've received different kinds of funding, but it's also tapping into these strategic sources, like had Sofia here from ANI mentioned different protocols, and both at the governmental, private level, that are opening up to empower sustainable and climate resilient, and of course, research and innovation programs. And very happy, as mentioned, that we have signed this protocol with CIêNCIAS to put a farm here. I'll show you where in a bit, but this will be our R&D facility, which will allow us both to develop new crops, grow new crops, but also to advance the IP, the intellectual property, and the software angle, the biotech angle, to really allow us to make a dent in the urban farming market. So this is where it's going to be. You'll get to see it. It's quite in front of the campus. It's very luckily positioned also close to a set of solar panels there, so we'll be able to create synergies with a renewable energy angle. One key piece for our farms is also the orientation. So as mentioned, we're leveraging the most abundant energy source in the world, which is the sun. So we're also focused on where to position the farm facing south so that we can take advantage of that energy exposure. And this is just how it looks in practical architectural drawings. So below we'll have more of the lab R&D angle, where we have the logistics, the sowing of the seeds, the germination, so the nursery, and then on the top part we have the growing of the plants. So if, any professor students out there will be very happy to conduct master theses and different initiatives to really promote this farm and evolve agriculture with biotechnology. Again, like biotech is a huge field, not only linked with agriculture, but we know that we can use multiple things, all the way from microalgae to, again, sensors, algorithms, lab research for genetics for growth of more climate resilient crops. So there's a huge amount of professor here will be working together, but there's a huge amount of applications that we can do with biotech and vertical farming, and we have the advantage of having a controlled environment that we can leverage and really apply different tools and see what the results are, and then push them out to market at a wider scale. Part of this intellectual property or what we're looking to develop is the cloud brain or the OS, the operating system that links all the elements connected to the farm level, right, to the plant level and what's happening inside the farm, to a wider software base that allows us to then learn from that, optimize and replicate, right? So it's not only about growing with one single farm, but taking those learnings from different parts across the world, farms, and that allows us to then optimize the growth with each new batch, which is important both in terms of yield, economics, but also climate resiliency, so we can take these farms to wherever they're needed the most. Software also plays a key part, but again, it's not only software, it has to be linked with what happens inside the farm. So we will jointly develop software that allows to make growing easy, right? So we just have to focus on 3 key steps: the sowing of the seeds, transplanting the crops, and harvesting, and everything else will be automated and controlled and enabled by technology to be able to make this very simple, with data-driven decision-making, farm management tools, and then our growers and people just focusing on growing, harvesting, and repeating the process. Just a bit on the team, wide team. a bit of diversity in terms of nationalities. We have Mexico, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Latvia. So it's a very multidisciplinary team that is really focused on making a difference in our food system and on how we grow food and really bringing the roots back to the people. And again, really exciting to be partnering together, especially because we're also raising capital, and we know that this R&D angle will position us to really capture all the support and all the availability of funds, all the way from, for example, the ANI, but also at a horizon level, European level, and even global level for investors to really drive the innovation angle of what we're doing, instead of only applying the urban farming techniques that already exist, really driving, again, biotech, software, algorithms, and this really technological field that will allow us to differentiate and to grow and to make an impact at scale, because our vision goes beyond having container farms. That's a controlled environment. It's a prototype. It's a concept farm which works, and we love it. But we're thinking beyond, like 3D printed bio material farm walls. We're thinking about modular systems, also made of different new materials, and that can be deployed again in places that need it the most, be it the global south, be it Africa. So we know that this base here in CIENCIAS will really allow us to drive this vision forward and help us have a world full of climate positive farms. Right? Just imagine having a farm in every corner and in every place that needs that, and for us to be able to stop buying plastic bags full of fresh greens, which is a bit crazy if you think about it. So we want to bring this freshness closer to the people, and we believe with partners such as CIENCIAS, Tech Labs, ANI, etc., we can make this happen. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Emiliano. Moving forward, our next speaker is here to share with us the wisdom he acquired while successfully securing funding opportunities to pursue research on invasive fish species. Let's welcome Filipe Ribeiro from the MARE ULisboa Research Center.
Okay. Hello, good morning, everybody. My talk is going to be a little bit different from the remainder, but it will be I'm going down on the memory lane of my career here in science, in CIENCIAS. So I started in 1998. Studying did my bachelor degree project on a small fish, this one here, and within the scope of a life project. And you can see here that I was really happy together with several colleagues, that some of them are professors and researchers here at CIENCIAS. And it was really, I felt like a fish in the water, so doing this work. But then a good friend of mine that has a bachelor degree in management and accounting said to me, why should we spend money on this fish? Why it is really important for society? And at that time, I could not convince him why it was really important. And so it stood in the back of my mind. And still, he is present in all the research that I do today. I moved on, and I started to do my PhD on a big threat for freshwater fishes, for freshwater ecosystems that were invasive species. And then I had an angle that was more directed to fisheries, so inland fisheries with this important fish that is the largemouth bass that moves a lot of millions of euros on angling activity. But still, it was not really satisfying. And that at the same time, I co-founded a company, an environmental company, that was called Fluviatilis, and that we had a big anchor project that was putting available all the information of recreational fisheries and also data from inland fisheries online and available online and available to anyone, especially to the 200,000 anglers that existed there. Another conclusion that I reach at the end is that most of the knowledge that we generated, it remains in our universities. It remains in our research centers. And so there is as scientists, we conclude our task by publishing our work. And sometimes there is the strong need of the society for this knowledge to be there, present. And we lacked of these transfers. So that was another conclusion throughout my PhD period that I found it a little bit disturbing. I moved on to a postdoc in the United States. I was studying little fishes that are irrelevant to the society, we think. But it was really interesting and very, very enriching to have a course about identifying fish larvae that was 2.5 weeks, and this course was held by my former postdoc advisor, and it had people from all over the world present, from Brazil, from Japan, and so I thought, well, we should try to do that with once I get back to Portugal, because it was always on the back of my mind that the money that was invested in me by the FCT, I would have to return it back to Portugal. So when I came back, together with colleagues from the Center for Environmental Ecology and Environmental Changes, I never get this right, sorry, and we started to do a fish identification course for freshwater fish and migratory fish, together with colleagues from our house, but also colleagues from other universities that were essential to enrich and to create an important course. And so we started in 2012, and we reached 10 editions. So in 10 editions, and with about 200 people that were exposed in the week-long course, very, very practical, and it was really hands-on. And so in all the feedback that we get from them is really a very good feedback and high evaluations from the instructors. So you can see here, and we targeted specifically for students and researchers from different universities. So we have, you can see here, from the University of Algarve to University of Minho, so across Portugal. We also targeted for environmental consultancy companies. So, and we have here some companies that go from north to south, some quite important as well. Then also to local administration. So we reach out to, we had students from different municipalities, from state-owned companies that manage water. So that is IDEA, that is really a big player in the southern part of Portugal. And then also for a central administration from APA and from ICNF. Then I always try to aim for enforcement, to law enforcement entities, and especially the main police force is a National Republican Guard, that we never managed to get them. But it was really striking one year that we had 3 policemen from the Environmental Protection Brigade from the Polícia de Segurança Pública. It was really quite cool to have them. And more recently, we have also haute cuisine chefs that are students here. So our little fishes of the freshwater are important to the society, and there's a lot of people that are interested in. And we had also, for instance, archaeologists, 2 archaeologists and 2 scientific illustrators, as an example. Then we started to see that there were direct contacts for applied projects to our research group, from initial small contracts with some municipalities and then other larger ones with the ICNF. Then, for instance, other colleagues that had the course were essential. For instance, APA, to get us contracts with other municipalities and also with the water resource company in Portugal. And the same happened with small consultancy firms that also serve as contacts for us to solve problems in Águas do Norte. And other universities also help us to mediate and to participate in projects as contractors for a LIFE project that was the LIFE in Vasagua project. The importance of outreach is essential. We received a small project by the Species Conservation Fund, the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund, for protecting, again, a small fish that really nobody knows it and nobody really cares, that is located in the valley of the Tagus River. And we had one small task that was to build leaflets, so to produce leaflets. We did 100 leaflets or 200 leaflets. It was not that much. And we said, okay, we mail them, we'll mail all these leaflets to the municipalities and to the parishes. And it was really remarkable that 2 municipalities contacted us and chipped in to support the project more. So that is the importance of a leaflet. So that was really quite cool to see that they then collaborated with us. Other outreach actions that we had, and directly from the Geoparque de Roca, where we did some demonstration of scientific fishing and did some a day with the public. That was quite enriching. The importance of being in the media is essential. Our colleagues from ICNF understand that invasive species, large, high-impact fishes like the catfish are important, but they never manage to go above on their hierarchy to put it as a high priority level. So when we made the front cover of the Público, that was in 2020, immediately someone from the cabinet of the environmental minister called ICNF and said, what can we do about it? And it was remarkable because after 2 months, I received a phone call and say, okay, let's coordinate, make a call for the environmental fund, and so support your research. And they were quite happy with our work, that they continue to support us with other invasive species throughout the same funding mechanisms. Bringing new knowledge. These are the 5 papers that I published from the 5 chapters of my PhD. And the least important is this one. So it has 12 citations in 11 years. So it's really not really that important by the scientific community. But it was really quite challenging and fulfilling in my perspective, because I like to study these little guys. But then there was this always, I keep reminding my good friend Pedro, that is like, why do you study this? This is really, nobody really cares about this. But he's wrong, and luckily there's still people that came out from the fish course, that from the ICNF, that said to IDEA, that is making a water transfer, a massive water transfer from the Guadiana River to the Sado River, said, okay, you have to study this. What is the risk of transfer animals from within the water masses? And how do you do it? So you do it by studying the fish larvae. So we started to do that. So idea was hired this environmental protection agency, Aqualogos, at the company that also hired us. And so it is being supporting us year after year after year, because the new developed that we created, that we generated in this house is still here, and it is still with us. So this is only a part of the small funding, and we have been quite successful in our FCT calls, both for the projects that I'm not covering here, but just to tell you that it's really half of our group is financed by FCT competitive calls that have the approval rates of less than 10% on average. And then we also have a live project. We are partners of a live project that I just mentioned to Inês, that this chunk here could be much higher if we had co-funding. And we had a lot of difficulties in getting co-funding in money by stakeholders of the society. So the FCT projects, for instance, to give you just another comment, the two last FCT projects, both the exploratory and both the other one that is a big one, were not really top-of-the-notch science. They were applied projects. They were related with fisheries and with management. It was quite interesting to see the feedback from the referees, the reviewers of these calls, that they mentioned really that. So what is really the importance of this? For me, it is essential to keep good lab techs, and we have a lot of difficulties in maintaining lab techs year after year on FCT grant money. So at the end, we really I really managed to keep a team. Some of these guys have been here for 6 years as lab techs, and hopefully in the next future with contracts. And then also support these lab techs, and also the facilities also support a lot ongoing research projects. But also give us the potential and the liquidity to create and to buy new equipment. We bought a 50,000 euro boat that is unique in Portugal. It's unique in Iberian Peninsula, that gives not only the capacity to monitor better the water resources, the reservoirs and large rivers, but also gives for me something that is really important, that is safety of the people that work, and many are students, and so it is really essential to have this heavy duty equipment. So lessons learned for fishing for research funds. It's like scientific knowledge transfer for the society is urgent, and we need to do more. I think communication, being present on the news, and also engaging the public is also important. I've been in the European Researchers' Night year after year in the last 6 or 7 years, and it has been really enriching, and it's also important for us to adapt the language so that the public, nobody really knows about our research, can really see the importance of your work, and this is quite important. Engage your stakeholders. Engage your stakeholders. Sometimes I say that I could be a good salesman, and so I've been selling my research a lot, selling between brackets, but selling the importance of my research to the stakeholders. Also create your network within the stakeholders, and the fish course for us was really essential to create these small contracts that supported my team. And then there was this casuality of the new scientific knowledge was quite important to maintain this continuity on some of the services that we stand, and we should never stop search for funding on the standard funding opportunities, mostly the FCT. So two last words. One is for the colleagues from this house, both CIêNCIAS and from FCiD, that always supported supporting all the problems that I cause with administrative issues and bureaucratic issues that I hate. And I love to have them on my side to help me out. So I really like to thank them. And also I would like to thank my team that has been here for the last 6 years, and they are an important part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Filipe. And now, for our final guest speaker, the next big idea is an information project that for the past 12 years has showcased innovative ideas and the creative pioneers behind them. Please welcome content coordinator of this media brand, Miguel Magalhães.
Hi, everyone. I would like to start by thanking Professor Margarida for the invitation to be here. She basically gave me the challenge of making an analysis on the relationship between universities and startups, which is basically my day-to-day for the past 3 years. I've been working in a media brand that basically covers innovation stories on TV and on digital. We've been doing a lot of stories either in text, in audio, in video, covering what is happening in universities, in accelerators, in incubators. And so the idea of coming here was kind of making an analysis of what can be or what it is today the role of universities in fostering new businesses coming out on the market, especially in a day where we are calling it the Research and Innovation Day, and by all the different definitions that there is of innovation. Research, I think most people here will know it better than me, but on innovation has to do with a sort of adoption of a solution or a product by a significant pool of users. And that means going out to the real world, being tested by either the significant types of people or organizations. And that is the case, either we are talking about a new device, a new product, a new medicine. That needs to be the case. And so my goal is kind of see what has been the evolution of universities and startups, and with the challenges that a lot of businesses have today, how can universities play a bigger role in that? And so to start out, I would like to go back 12 years ago. And I know that we have a lot of researchers, students, people here, but Portugal was in a really hard situation economically. We had Troika here. We had a lot of unemployment, and especially youth unemployment within a generation that it's probably one of the most skilled, if not the most skilled generation in the world. And so in a lot of situations, either with this young generation or with people with more experience, they had two options. They either needed to go abroad in search for more opportunities, or if they decided to stay, a lot of them decided to, if I don't have any opportunities or job opportunities for me, I will decide to create my own job. And it was around this time, 12 years, 14 years ago, that a lot of the first startups, and being called that name, started to appear in Portugal, and a lot of them started to appear in universities, and that was not a coincidence. If we look at a lot of examples, even in the US or in bigger markets in Europe, universities were traditionally the places where great companies were generated from. And Portugal wasn't an outlier, that also appeared. Why? Because in a market that was very traditional still in business terms, universities had all the resources and all the tools to allow someone that had an idea, that had a project, that had a really successful research project that could be turned into a solution or a product, they could test it out, or at least have the advisory and the mentorship to know what steps he or she needed to take in order to make that project a reality. And so it was actually around that time that the Next Big Idea, with the two people that created the project, saw that a lot of these little projects and a lot of these little companies were coming out of the universities. It wasn't only startups or spin-outs from universities, but a lot of the projects were coming out of universities, and they decided to do a TV show about it, because a lot of these projects, even if they were having the support of universities and mentors, they didn't have, as in the previous presentation it was being discussed, they didn't have the media attention that they probably needed to reach other levels. And so they decided to create a TV show for CIêNCIAS that would give the stage to those projects. And the first seasons of the Next Big Idea on CIêNCIAS was precisely that. And I wanted to show you an early example. I don't know if this will be possible here, of an early episode. I don't know if this will show up. Probably not. Probably not. I don't know if I could here show it. No, probably not. I already messed it up. Sorry.
YouTube, Miguel?
Era só quando se dá para clicar no vídeo e mostrar só rapidamente. No PDF não vai dar. Não há problema, não há problema. Não há problema, é só voltar. Não há problema. But basically, this was one of the first episodes that we did, which was basically a researcher that was at the time investigating medicine that would prevent some of the effects on patients that were doing chemotherapy sessions to treat cancer. And at the time, she ended up really being successful with this project and others. But at the time was the type of projects that we were seeing coming out of universities. But it wasn't the only one. And actually a lot of the stories that we were covering around this time, they became nowadays some of the biggest startups and companies that we have in our market. I don't know if a lot of you know these three companies. Does anyone here know these companies by show of hands? Okay, some of them. So I'll briefly give you the story of each of them. So FCiências was created in 2008, and they created an algorithm that allows financial institutions to detect financial fraud. And for a long time, they didn't have any resources, but suddenly, within the tools that Universidade de Coimbra gave them, they began being more and more adopted by banks and other types of organizations. And until to date, they have received over 200 million euros in funding, and they still have their main office around the University of Coimbra. Another example was Unbabel, which was developed by a research project within Instituto Superior Técnico, and they are essentially a translation platform that uses AI to allow any business to translate its main communication materials to any language that they want. So, for example, a Portuguese business that has its website, its marketing materials, and its customer service in Portuguese, if he wants to go to Bangladesh with the platform of Unbabel, they will be able to translate all of that to the local language and have a better reach to the market. And to date, they have received over 100 million euros in funding. And finally, Sword AI, they were a project linked with health, and so they are using basic artificial intelligence to improve the physiotherapy process of a lot of patients around the world. And they started out as a research project in the University of Aveiro, and so far they have received over 300 million euros in funding. And so 3 of the main startups nowadays, they were generated by the support given by each of these universities. And like them, there's a lot of cases. And successful, they were the outliers and the most successful ones, but there were a lot of cases like this one. And so in 2000, and for a lot of years, this was the case for most universities. So if you wanted to have the support and the tools and the mentorship to create a business, universities from the north to the south of Portugal were the place to go. But then in 2016, we started having an event here called the Web Summit, which probably most of you are aware of, that despite all of its benefits and flaws, did something that we really didn't have in our ecosystem previously, which was by bringing a lot of attention to Portugal, Lisbon, and other cities as markets, it brought also a lot of foreign entities in the investment side, in the technology side, that decided to invest in Portugal, and a lot of them started to give the mentorship and the types of services and ecosystem that universities gave until that point. And it had other effect, which is a lot of corporates and bigger Portuguese companies that for a long time didn't pay as much attention as they should to these little projects or these new startups that were appearing. They suddenly decided to invest a lot in developing their own incubators and their own accelerators and have a platform where they could work with these companies and have a platform where they could test the solutions that they were developing. And so that had a really positive effect, which is suddenly, and along the years, the Portuguese market became a much better market for startups to grow, because suddenly it wasn't just the university resources that they could go to. They suddenly had a lot of other organizations and associations that they could go to in order to have mentorship, to have investment, to find talent in some situations. And that probably had the effect, which is the really huge impact that universities had at a startup level suddenly became not a minor role, but divided with all sorts of other initiatives that were appearing in the Portuguese market. And so nowadays, and moving on to 2024, where we have all these initiatives regarding entrepreneurship and innovation and startups, the question is how universities can continue producing innovation stories and be an important hub where everyone feels that they have access to what they need in order to go from an idea to a product in a market. And I think that to find the answer to this question, we need to go back to what generally are the four main pillars or the four main roles of universities. I will spend a little more time on the first one, as you can imagine, but a full integrated infrastructure for entrepreneurship basically means that whoever belongs to a university ecosystem, if it decides to follow up on an idea of either in research or even for a product that could be successful, it can find throughout the university ecosystem whatever he or she needs to make that idea or that project a reality. And I will spend a little more time on what that could be. But the others are still really important roles nowadays more than ever. The talent maker, it has never been harder for companies to find really great talent to fulfill the needs that they have. You see reports and news every day that the companies in most cases can't hire for the positions that they are communicating. And that's because there's really a need for universities, no matter the area that they are investing on, to produce this type of talent that then companies can integrate. And so that role will never disappear. And I think the challenge here is making sure that this connection between the market and what universities are teaching has a good fit, and what students and people in masters and in doctorates spend here a lot of years learning. Then if they decide to move to the market and to a company context, those skills are directly applicable to what those companies are working on. And then the third one, and throughout the day you will have a lot of panels about this, has to do with knowledge, and that role will never be substituted. So I don't think that all research needs to directly lead to a product. What I'm speaking is a specific case, but university will always be the place where you find challenges, you find problems that need a solution, and you try to figure out what are the causes of those problems, and what can be some of the solutions to be tested. And so that will, in some situations, lead to a potential product in the market, but in a lot of them, it just means that it's research or projects that are being developed and will give us a better understanding on how we function or what the problems are we're dealing as a society. And then I put a fourth one that I called the impartial supervisor, which means, especially nowadays when a lot of people are talking about AI and dangers of AI and the different applications that can have in different fields, usually people go to universities in order to have an impartial view on these subjects. And that doesn't mean that universities will have a direct answer on what is right or what is the right path to follow. But oftentimes universities will be the best places to identify the pros and cons of a certain technology or a certain application, and what are the dangers and the benefits of using it in different contexts. And so that role, I think it won't be substituted. But focusing on the first one, which is what brought me here, is what should a university have in order to facilitate the creation of a business that starts here. And I once again chose 4 elements, and thankfully in the context of school there's already a lot of them, so it's not a work that needs to go from scratch, but it's a blueprint of what a university should venture to, based on a lot of benchmark that's being done by a lot of the main European universities. I went to look what universities such as the Technical University of Munich, Aalto, which is one of the best technical universities in Finland, and Bocconi, which is a business university. So just to see that sometimes business universities can contribute with something. I have a business background, so I decided to put one here. But these are the 4 main elements that a university should strive to have. And the first one is a hub. So a clear place where students, if they decided to go and bet on a certain projects, they know that they could go to university and receive mentorship for that. And in the context of school, you already have tech labs. I was just in the beginning of this month in an event or on the demo day of tech labs, and it's amazing the work that they've been developing over these years, offering as an incubator, as a mentor, as a linker of different stakeholders. And so the work they are doing there is really great, and school already has a great starting point by having the work that that Tech Labs has been developing over these last few years. The second one, I think it's the hardest one for most of Portuguese universities, which is venture. When you compare the Portuguese universities situation with the best universities in the US or in Europe, often universities in those regions have resources in terms of capital to directly invest in the projects that they see some potential without the need of communicating with any external stakeholders. So, for example, if you look at Stanford or Harvard or MIT, if they see a project with great potential that could lead to a great product, internally, when in the first years that product needs some support, they can internally invest and give those projects the first runways in order for them to develop whatever they need, to hire a team, to have access to the resources that they need. And in Portuguese universities, that isn't often the case. You can give some of the conditions in order for them to develop in terms of machinery, in terms of labs, in terms of connections. But oftentimes, if a lot of researchers are already having a hard time getting funding to do their normal research, if you are going into a business terms, is even more harder. And so I think a lot of the work that universities and ultimately government, in terms of the way it looks to universities, is fostering a way where universities could have a venture arm that could, with some independence, already work and try to help the businesses that are being generated here. And throughout over the last few years, there has been a lot of venture capital firms that have been appearing in Portugal, and a cool indicator that a lot of reports have been showing up regarding the link between venture and universities is that at a time where most of people are still very risk averse in terms of investing to some projects, because still in economic terms nowadays it's been a really hard time with inflation and all of that, is that a lot of venture firms really give preference to projects that are coming out of universities. They trust the knowledge and trust the background of projects that are being developed in a university context. And so if universities are able to foster relationships with these types of companies and maybe find ways that they can have a more direct relationship to their day-to-day activities, that could be a good way of projects that are developed here to kind of already have that connection to the market and more easily find ways to fund whatever they are doing. Then the third one has to do with tools. And when I mean tools, has to do with how universities can give any type of student or researcher or any type of stakeholder the tools to develop a business. Because oftentimes, I know that in schools context, there's already some entrepreneurship courses, but I do think that sometimes even people that have a business background don't know what they are doing once they reach the market and how they can create a business, what are the normal steps to do it, how do they do taxes, how do they integrate an investment in a certain business. And unfortunately, most business backgrounds don't have the technical tools to develop the projects. And so if you already are a technical university that are creating the people that will develop the products of the future, if somehow within their curriculum there can be some courses that give them the tools to know how a business operates, what they need to pay attention to, and how would they, if they needed, if they wanted to create a business once they finish a course, what would they need to do? That could be a good way for them to create better companies and to have a greater ease once reaching the market. And finally, when I say partnerships, has to do with how universities can have also a greater partnership and a greater connection with the best Portuguese companies or foreign companies. A lot of the best companies in the world, they are developing new offices, new hubs around university campus, because as I was saying before, it has never been harder to find great talent to solve all sorts of challenges. And so if there's a way to form a partnership where by universities giving access or giving talent access to these companies, they can have access to the resources that these companies have to develop entrepreneurship programs, to bring mentors from these companies here and explain students what do they need to do to create products in a certain area, I think that would be very valuable, and it's clearly what some of the best universities in the world are doing right now. And so here I can then share with you this article if you want. But recently, Sifted, which is a leading business publication in Europe, they basically cover the startup ecosystem around several markets. They did a list on what were the 10 fastest growing spin-outs currently. So the companies generated from a university background that were having greater success in the market. And by looking at that list, there are quickly three conclusions that we can take. And so the first one is that all of them are coming from technical universities or universities with a technical science background. And so I think that clearly shows that in terms of success, universities that already are working with several scientific areas and are generating knowledge around those areas really have the potential to create some of the fastest growing companies around the world and around Europe. The second one has to do with the markets where most of these companies are coming from are Germany, France, and UK. And when we are speaking on the differences that there's between Portugal and more mature markets, we often talk about salaries and that these countries are more productive than ours. But maybe one of the issues is that starts in university terms. So if these universities and universities in these countries, of course, there's a matter of size. So these countries are bigger, so they are able to produce more companies. But if one of the competitive factors is the way or the ability of local universities to produce successful businesses, this is something that we should strive for. And even as a country strategy or a government strategy for universities, this is something that most universities should give as an argument for more funding and more resources so that they are able to work with the projects of the future and the companies of the future and give them the tools to reach the market. And finally, these are some of the areas where a lot of these projects are finding really great success. So when you talk about areas such as energy, such as biotechnology, such as climate tech, these are clearly areas where most success cases are appearing, because they are actually the areas where a lot of the funding is going to. And so I don't mean to say that all the research or all the projects or initiatives that are being developed need to go to these areas, but oftentimes there needs to be a way of prioritizing what can work and which areas, as a country and as a strategy and as a research strategy overall, some universities could decide to bet on in order to attract the investment that it's being done globally. And so this is what we can conclude by looking at the list of the companies that are being targeted. And so just to end my presentation, weekly we sent out a newsletter in Portuguese that basically covers the main innovation stories in Portugal and around the world. So either the most famous tech startups or the startups and projects that are coming out of universities, we cover them weekly and try to give in a digestible way a cool way of people consuming innovation and consuming innovation stories. And so if you would like to check it out, what we do, I invite you to subscribe, and I'm open to discuss with any of you after the presentation, whatever you need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. We have now concluded our talks this morning and have time for some questions from the audience. So I would like to ask, are there any questions for our guest speakers this morning? Any questions from the audience? Yes, maybe. Mr. Breman?
So I would like to ask our vertical garden speaker. Is he here? No? Oh, okay, so.
Thank you anyway, Professor. Maybe you'll be able to ask it later in the poster session. Next question, please.
Bom dia a todos. A minha questão é para a doutora Inês Cristóvão, da APA, e tem um bocadinho a ver com a participação de Portugal no programa LIFE. O programa LIFE, desde há muitos anos, foi sempre um bocadinho visto como quase como um bicho-papão, muito burocrático, era difícil de ganhar um projeto e por aí fora. No novo programa houve de facto uma aproximação das regras ao programa Horizon e, portanto, está tudo muito mais simplificado. E a minha questão tem a ver com esta mudança de mentalidade, paradigma, o que lhe queiram chamar, do programa, e se isso se reflete na participação de Portugal no programa, ou seja, se essa participação aumentou, e se nos consegue dizer, em termos de taxa de sucesso, como é que nós estamos. Obrigada.
Muito obrigada pela pergunta. Realmente há algum feedback que nós temos de pessoas que já têm vindo a concorrer ao LIFE, até é ao contrário, ou seja, gostavam mais dos antigos formulários, estavam mais agarrados a eles e custou-lhes esta alteração para a nova este tipo de plataforma, já semelhante a outros programas de financiamento. Talvez não seja a melhor pessoa para lhe responder, porque eu estou há um ano a trabalhar nesta área. Em termos de taxa de sucesso, Portugal entra muito mais como parceiro com outros projetos do que propriamente como coordenador. Portanto, não é assim, não está muito bem posicionado como coordenador de projetos. Nós temos realmente essa informação, eu não lhe consigo dizer de cor. Portugal não está mal no ranking em relação a outros países. A sua evolução tem sido positiva, mas gostávamos que fosse muito mais. E as áreas continuam a ser, as áreas mais concorridas continuam a ser a natureza, a biodiversidade. Já agora digo-vos também que há algum interesse de privados de investirem nesta área, o que pode ajudar a colmatar os tais 60% e se calhar para as pessoas que estão aqui, se poderá ter interesse, portanto estejam atentos. Até final deste ano deverá surgir essa plataforma de cofinanciamento, onde vamos tentar aqui juntar do lado de quem tem dinheiro e quer investir e quer fazer boa figura, é um pouco isto, e quem pode aproveitar também dessa ajuda. É isso. Eu ia dizer qualquer coisa e agora esqueci-me. Peço desculpa. Se me lembrar, volto a falar consigo. Obrigada, desculpa.
Thank you for the question. Are there any other questions? Oh, yes. Perfect.
Just for the invasive fish person, I would like to ask, besides doing the statistics of the species and the identification, do you have some strategy on how to control the invasive species?
Yes, so within the scope of the LIFE project, that I didn't talk about it, we are now testing mechanisms and for the management of the catfish and to see if it is really effective or not. So basically this LIFE project that we are involved is to test and to see if there is any really if we are spending well our money and resources. And for the remainder invasive fish species or invasive species, it's a case-by-case scenario. So if there is a species that is spatially constrained, it's easy to eradicate and we can solve the problem. If they are quite spread, that's a management problem. So it varies from case to case.
Peço desculpa, tomei agora a palavra porque lembrei-me do que lhe ia dizer. Aquele programa, aquele último programa que surgiu no Live, que é a transição para as energias limpas, tem sido muito concorrido. E Portugal posicionou-se muito bem. Tem sido, agora, realmente é uma nova aposta. Em termos até de balanço financeiro, nós prevemos que muito do dinheiro, se calhar para vocês infelizmente, mas vai deixar de haver tanto dinheiro investido na parte da natureza e mais para a parte das energias. E isso também se reflete um pouco na taxa de financiamento, que é de 95%. Portanto, logo aí chama muito a atenção, não é? 95%. Pronto, para vos dizer que está a haver um pouco esta transição, agora a energia está mais, pronto, todos sabemos, com a crise energética é um assunto muito emergente na Comissão e isso depois reflete-se destes financiamentos. Obrigada.
Okay, thanks. So I have a question to Filipe on the invasive species. So you talked a lot about attracting funding, and I'd like for you to comment on the funding for your salaries, and in particular of programs like the SEC that allow to hire researchers, and if you think that's important or not, especially given the actual context.
So it was quite important that I received a SEC contract 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, and that gave me a lot of stability, especially because the other 2 FCT projects that I was involved, it paid my salary. So having the SEC, and also part of me of trying to reach out to get some funding from private sources was also to support my salary in betweens, but that was 8 years ago. So 6 years ago. So when I got the stability of the FCT projects, and 2017 was an exceptional year, and so it really, the stability of 6 years allowed me to grow as a team. Yeah.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's quite nice to be here. I tend to show up every instance. And it's a question for all of us, the audience. We're trying to think about how to attract funding. But to me, it feels like we are still missing out to attract our own students and staff to these events. And I feel this is important. I don't know exactly how to do it, but I feel that we need to raise awareness within if we're wanting to find the talent. CIêNCIAS has hundreds of staff, thousands of students, and we are less than 100 here. So I don't know what we need to do, but we really need to do something because you need critical mass for these things to happen. That's my comment.
Good morning. Hello. I hope there's someone from the faculty able to answer this question, please. Taking into account everything that was said this morning, from highlighting the importance of investment to the need to transfer knowledge, and given the fact academic background is a basal pillar in the matter, I would like to ask the Faculty of Sciences what measures are being taken or will be taken to strengthen the master degrees in History and Philosophy of Sciences and the master degree in Geospatial Engineering, both at a monetary level, at a dissemination or advertisement level, and at a partnership formation level. Thank you.
I can answer that. Okay, I think this question is a little bit out of the scope of this meeting, but I don't mind to answer it. You can read the mission of the Faculty of Sciences, and the mission of the Faculty of Sciences is based on natural and exact science and technosciences. This is the major pillar of the university. So, of course, we know that philosophy and history are important transversal fields of research, but it's not the major focus of the Faculty of Sciences. So all the things that are now being discussed in terms of restructuring the faculty and giving a different structure to the faculty has to do with this, and is still under discussion. So that's what I can say right now, okay? Sorry? Yes, and it's been restructuring. We are finding ways of restructuring it because clearly from the last years we are not attracting students. And as you know, when you manage a university and you have to hire people and you have to divide the resources for all the areas, you have to take into account how attractive you are for the students. And if you have an area or a course or whatever, in this case is the one that you are speaking, is not attracting students in the last years, something is happening. But the university and the faculty in this case cannot waste too much resources in something that is not attracting students. So what you need to do is to think, reflect, and find a solution among the community how to, not to give up of that area, but how to attract the students that we need to be able to invest in that area. Okay? So it's not disappearing, it's just, we are just reflecting how to do it in the next years, okay? But of course it is an area which is important for the faculty. I don't know if there is any other question, because I think, okay, I think we need to stop more or less. I know. So we have to.
Session. Do you want to take one more question?
Can I go ahead? It's following what Tiago said. It's to Sofia Azevedo. Is it possible for you to briefly explain the support that can be given by the national contact points to the research community?
Well, we can. First, I think you have in the Faculty of Sciences a team of people that can, Mafalda and the team of Mafalda and Carla, that can help you identifying the opportunities in close collaboration with the national contact points. So this is another message that I would convey today. We organize trainings specific for the support offices, but also for the community at large. And normally we work with the supporting offices to help you. More concretely, we tend to help throughout the life cycle of the project. So identifying the opportunity. First, try to be engaged in setting up the text for the call. And this is the first step. If you see a topic that is relevant to you when it is being negotiated, please get involved. Even if it's just a word that you want to put in a full text, it can increase the opportunity, the chances for getting the projects afterwards. This is the first step. Then when you have the idea and identify the topic, we can help you identifying partners, people that are, or institutions that are participating in previous initiatives. We have a database of information since the 6-7 framework program, so we can help with this. And also we do a non-technical revision of the proposals. When you are preparing the proposals, our national contact points can revise them. They would not make any comment on the science of the proposal, but they have a look at the proposal and see if the information is in the right place or if some improvements can be done. And when you get the grant, when the project is funded, we have a national legal and financial NCP that can help with the legal and financial stuff that all the project needs to do to sign the contract. So, but the main message is you have a support office here. They work very well in collaboration with us. So you can be the first door to knock. And for sure, they will pinpoint to the right NCP. Again, you have my email, but we are 20 people in the office to help you.
Thank you, Sofia. We have time for one last question.
Okay, thank you. My question is for Miguel. Usually we have the master students and the PhD students. We try to find funding for them, as you are seeing the discussions. And then when they finish their work, it's the time where they would need to start thinking, okay, should I do start a company or so on? And what are the suggestions you have for trying to find a kind of bridge scholarship or something like, even before pre-seed, I would say, for our students, for instance, keep working like 6 months more in developing a product out of their thesis or so. Do you know any success case in this sense, or programs focus on that? Please.
I can give you an example of what was my situation when I left university 7 years ago and what it is now. When I left, I actually had an idea for a startup, but there wasn't really any support to start developing. And so when you are starting to work and go to adult life, you need to make a choice. Either I go for a company that gives me a salary that I know at the end of the month what I'm going to receive, or I decide to risk and go on my own and have no idea what to do. Luckily, nowadays, you have some programs that allow you to do that. So there's an association called Startup Portugal, which I don't know if you are aware of. They usually offer a thing called vouchers, which is basically for a period of time. I don't know if it's 3 months, if it's 6 months. I think it's 6 months. You get, I don't know the exact amount, but it's, for example, I think it's 1,500, 1,000 per month. I know that they give you an amount where for a period of months you can work, and so that would be one of the solutions. Another one has really to do, and that depends on the background that you can have. For example, you have there's a really cool venture capital firm that's called Antler. They were just created. They launched their office here in Portugal last year. And like them, there's a lot of these types of programs, which is, for example, you decide that for 12 months you want to develop your solution, your product. And so what they do is that you need to sign up for their program. They do like a bunch of interviews and select some people to go to that program. But what happens is that for 12 months, in their case, you get like a monthly salary to develop your product, and you have access to their mentorship, to their resources. And like these ones, you have a lot of them. So either from Startup Portugal, which is a public organization, you can do that. But if you search, you have a lot of these incubation, acceleration programs that what they do is essentially that they try to give you time, which I think when you are starting is always the struggle, which is have time to develop and still be able to pay bills and things like that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Miguel, and thank you to the audience for all the questions raised. And now, to close our morning session, I'll give the word to Professor Margarida.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of you. I know that we are not too many, but there were many, Tiago, before. I completely understand your question. That is a question that your comment, not a question, is the comment that we put to ourselves all the time, because when we started this Research and Innovation Day 6 years ago, so we were innovators in that sense, our expectation was that to bring all the community in these events to share our experiences, our problems, our concerns, everything. And I think, at least I don't feel too sad that there is not so much people in the room, because I think this is always a transition period where people slowly are gaining the idea that it is important to come. And I think we are being able to at least put people speaking about what is doing, knowing each other, and a lot of things that are now happening between people from different centers, different departments that previously did not know each other. But regarding today, so I at least for myself, I'm happy with this session. So my first word is to the speakers, which I think that provided us with a lot of information that was of interest. So Annie showed us the way to move forward and the opportunities that are coming for the next future, where, as Sofia showed, there are many areas where we are strong, so we can apply. And we are in time, so there is now we are now starting to discuss the program. So what they need is our involvement, our commitment to help them to define the priorities. Also in terms of the APA, the Portuguese Agency, and the LIFE program, which is one of the areas where life science, let's say, in general, go and get funds, knowing that now the energy is also a new opportunity. And again, we have strong teams working in energy in the faculty, so I'm sure they will profit, and it was important to know that, as well as the capacitation program. Then moving into Raiz, because Raiz, Emiliano explained more or less, but it is a recent partnership that we have made in the faculty, and I think they will bring not only a very novel idea and show us how we can work and deal with this world that is becoming more and more urbanized, but especially because they are offering a lot of opportunities to our students of master and PhD to work together with them in a subject which is really a societal challenge nowadays, but also, as you could see, because they can link also not only the agriculture part with the energy part and the climate part. So again, they are inside the best ecosystem in terms of knowledge in these areas, and I'm sure that this will be really a very interesting project, and we hope with this to attract other companies that are willing to come and join us. So they are going to build the first farm here in the next month or so, so you will see that. And they are already working with our colleagues from the plant biology department and the engineering department. Then Filipe, thank you very much. It's a good example how you really need to look for opportunities. You cannot be seated and wait the opportunities to arrive to you. You need to look for it. And now you can really diversify the ways getting funds. And how important it is to share your expertise, not only inside the faculty and inside the scientific community, but in the world out there, by being a news, by sharing, by going into the municipalities and so on and so on. And finally, Miguel, thank you very much for your sorry, I'm tired. Your sharing, because I think that is our big challenge right now in the faculty, is not with the scientific knowledge, not producing good science, not transmitting the science, but especially to get more strength, innovation culture. We are missing that. We are much better now than we were years ago, but we have so much potential that we are not using it. So it was really important to show that we can do it. You just have to have an idea. And again, I would like to, I think most of you know that, but I just recall you that we did not only organize these days, the Innovation and Research Day, that started to be research, then we had the innovation, but we also have done some investments in helping people. I recall you that 2 years ago, we have made a call for internal projects, which the aim was to foster interdisciplinarity, putting people working together. The last edition, and we awarded and get money and give money to 3 projects. The last year, we did it for innovation. We have opened a call for innovation, and there was a project that was funded. And our idea that was to be announced today, and that is somehow announced informally because we didn't have the rules yet, but the new program will be, the new call will be for infrastructures, to help to give more support to infrastructures. So in fact, the faculty is investing also in terms of getting support to our researchers, and especially to projects that are not sufficiently mature to get funds in other areas. So we hope till the end of this year to launch the call for this infrastructures call. And this, I will just end by thanking everyone for being here. I hope you will come again in the afternoon, where we are going to see how was our performance in since the last research day. It was not 2023, it's between October last year and this year. We are going to show our research highlights. We are going to give awards for recognition the merit of our staff, and it's all. And we now have the poster session, which is also important. It will be all the day long. You have some time before lunch or during lunch to see the posters of our researchers, and hoping to see you here in the afternoon. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here, and thank you especially for the speakers for this very good session. Thank you very much.